Good morning and welcome to the RIABU podcast here in Singapore. I'm delighted to be able to welcome into the studio Cheryl Chan, who is Business Development Support Manager of ModuResources. Cheryl, a very warm welcome to RIABU and to our studio.
Thank you, Simon.
For those who don't know you or the company that you're working for, RIABU is all about helping SMEs get paid on time, and we know you've had some very interesting experiences in that area recently. Perhaps you could explain for us, first of all, what ModuResources do and what services you provide and who your clients are.
Okay. So ModuResources, we are actually consultancy services for all the oil and gas companies. So we do re-inspections, we do wells, we do trainings. So most of the clients are all either either big companies who is the main contract holder, or they are actually the drilling contractors. So yeah, so for us, when we deal with them, of course, it's globally. Our company has grown to be a global organization where we deal with different parts of the world as well.
Okay.
So of course, there is, we always say, getting paid. It's always the number one problem that we have, not only in Asia, but in other countries as well.
Okay, so to sum up, ModuResources is in the energy sector. Yep. You provide a range of services to those who extract oil or gas from ocean or land.
Yeah, so it's more of their drilling, either their drilling rigs or their vessels that they drill. So it's before the vessel go out.
And you might be dealing with the energy company itself, yes, or will they contractors?
Mostly it's contractors.
Okay, and contractors, of course, are notoriously short of cash.
Yes.
Particularly lately with the low oil price. So, can it sometimes be tough to get paid on time?
Definitely. I think not only in our sector, everywhere else is as well. But for us, because it's in the energy sector, so it takes longer time for them to actually pay us.
Because of the oil price, there's less cash, there's been
Correct.
contraction in the sector and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Now you've been, since we first met a couple of years ago, you've been doing some quite interesting things to improve the cash flow of ModuResources by working more closely with your customers. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you perhaps
correct.
describe some of the things that you've been able to do?
So understanding clients is always the problems that we have. It's like we assume when we send out invoices, client would pay us on time, and all, but more than before they normally don't. So getting paid even after several chases, some of them actually can drag till 1 or 2 years before they pay.
1 or 2 years?
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty significant in terms of cash.
Correct. So that's why it also affects how we plan our business, or how we deal with them, moving forward for future projects.
So the range of terms that you typically have in a contract are from
30 days.
From 30 days all the way to 2 years. Do you actually have 2-year terms?
No. We actually just put it as 60 days.
Okay.
So that is like the standard rates. But they keep coming back to say, either they tell us, we're going to pay soon, nothing comes, or they say that, we are having some problems and they delay. So
when I first met ModuResources about 2 years ago to do some work in your department,
yep,
you were growing very fast, and you were having quite a lot of issues with timely payment. In fact, you had a big pile of overdue receivables. What are some of the things that you did to reduce that pile?
So there's a few things that we did. So number one was, of course, to understand more how they work. How the customer,
yes,
how the clients actually pay. Because we do have experience where you're talking to one department, which is normally what we deal with the drilling team, but the payment team, it's a different team altogether. So you might be chasing the project guy and asking for money, but the finance guy is not paying you. So then you have a shortfall, by the time you chase him, then he goes to... And
maybe the project guy that you're actually talking to doesn't know what his own internal payment process is?
Correct.
So to sum up, you can cut a deal with somebody who's friendly and wants to buy your service, but he doesn't actually know how his own internal processes for payment of invoices work.
Yes.
So I guess you have to find out what those processes are.
Correct. If not, we always rely on, that guy is not paying, and then you start terming your client as bad payers because they don't pay you on time.
Because it's a difficult conversation.
Correct.
So is it an easier conversation if you have it at the beginning?
Yes, I think it's really good if we have it resolved in the very first stage, So recently what we did was we actually, in the commencement, even before we commenced the project, in our very initial discussion, we actually told the project guys, is it possible for us to meet your finance team?
Brilliant.
Because we want to understand and see how we can help you with the processes. Perhaps you have certain documents or process that you need us to provide you so that your colleague can better help us to get paid. And they were like, oh, sure. And it was the first time as well. Because we were actually dealing this through an agent. So the agent was also asking, this is like the first time that we are also getting response from the client so quickly. So we got introduced to the finance team. So we did ask them what are the process, documents required, is there any lead time that we need to give you before your cutoff date and stuff.
And the names and contact details
Yes.
of everybody involved in that process.
Correct.
For those of you that don't know, ModuResources is one of the case studies in our book, Let the Cash Flow, as a wonderful example of how by applying the virtuous revenue cycle, you can ensure that your customers pay you on time. Now, what advice do you have for SMEs who are just starting out in business so that they can avoid getting paid late?
Well, the very common thing that we all miss sometimes is really communication. In the very beginning, if you could ask your client just a simple question, can you introduce me to your team? Can I get to know more about how you guys work? I think that is something that it would actually ease them off as well.
So one-on-one contact
Yep.
between you and the critical members of the team.
Correct.
Brilliant. So you've given some very good advice for SMEs who want to get paid on time. I understand you've just been given a promotion. In fact, you're going to be undertaking a quite different role. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
So the new role, we're doing global tenders. So because we are globally
And they can be
placed-
quite large, yes?
Yes, and it can be quite large. And we all know that doing tenders is always a big problem with documentations you need to attach and stuff. So in this new role, I'm supposed to facilitate all the other offices to have a standard across the whole group that we can actually have processes put into.
I mean, I think,
submission.
one of the hardest things to do in a company can be to get the commercial guys to agree to have a standard set of terms and conditions.
Correct.
How easy do you think that's going to be?
So what we did was we kind of like customized it to be a dummy-proof thingy, so anyone can just put in-
Idiot-proof.
Yes. So you can actually have standard things that they will look out for in tenders.
Brilliant.
So with the fixed costs that we all have, of course, different region will have different costs varying, but that's what we plan to ask the entire commercial team. What else do you want to add? In a project point of view, that's how we look at.
But once you've agreed,
Yep.
then everyone has to stick to it.
Correct.
And you include payment terms.
Yep.
Are you including the names and contact details of client people involved in the payment process?
Not at this moment, but but individual office actually have their own database to their own clients as well.
Okay. In Let the Cash Flow, we have some examples of contracts like that, and one of the things that we say is, why not get the names and details into the contract?
True.
While it's a friendly conversation. Yes, that's absolutely great. Well, you're going to be global tender manager. That's quite a promotion. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Have you anything else to tell us that you think will be helpful? Most of the subscribers who work with RIABU are SMEs, and many of them are in the marine industry, which is having a tough time at the moment. Is there anything else they should bear in mind?
I think most importantly, of course, we've got the guide in your book. Of
Yeah.
course, to read the book.
That's very kind of you.
To get all your information that you require. And next is definitely communication. I guess not only in Asia, but in everywhere else. Sometimes we are just too shy.
And communicating ahead of time.
Correct.
Before it becomes a problem.
Yes.
Yeah, what we call proactive contact. Cheryl Chan, thank you very, very much for coming and visiting RIABU and telling us about your wonderful success helping ModuResources get paid on time. Many thanks, Cheryl Chan, for visiting us here at RIABU. RIABU is all about getting your invoices paid on time. Do look us up, riabu.com, and check out the next riabu.com podcast. See you then.